All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Mark on Comics, episode 33. Today, what I'm going to discuss is my comic book story, where I started, where I went, where I am now, just to give yourselves an overview of who I am and my comic journey. So, years ago, I was in the Air Force. I was a computer navigation equipment technician and amateur software programmer. So one day, this was in 1979, one day I decided I wanted to go to a bookstore and pick up a programming book. So I went to the local bookstore off the base, and as I was walking in to go to the comic book section, I saw a spinner rack. Wow, wow, I haven't seen one of those in years. Let me go take a look. So I went to the spinner rack, looked around, and there was a book. It was a first issue. It was issue number 1 of World of Krypton. So World of Krypton was the first miniseries. It ended up being 3 issues. So I picked up the first issue, took it home, read it, and I was hooked. I became a comic book collector at that moment. So I went to something similar to IKEA, and I bought a little box. It was some type of board, and I used that for my comic books. So I would actually take them to work and have them with me so I could look at them. One of the books I had was Marvel Premiere #1, First Warlock. Before that, he was him, and this was when he became Warlock. And then I also had Captain Marvel #1 and Marvel Superheroes 12, first Captain Marvel. I had a few other books, but that was mainly the big ones that I can remember. So that was said in 1979. I hooked up with a local comic book shop run by a gentleman by the name of Lou. We became friendly, wouldn't say buddies, but he did let me go along to assist him at a comic book convention. It was in 1980. It was in North Carolina, and it was put on by Heroes Aren't Hard to Find, Sheldon Drum. Before, in 1982, it became the Heroes Con. So this was just in a hotel, 2 floors. It was really great. So Lou went off before the convention opened, and he came back and he said, "Look what I got. Tales of Suspense 39." And he said, "Wow, yeah, I only paid $350 for this." You know, I said this was 1980, so comics were a lot cheaper back then. But for me, $380 was 3 weeks of salary. I had to be careful. Couldn't do that. So I was introduced to comic book conventions, had a really great time. And then at the end of 1980, I got reassigned to George Air Force Base in Victorville, California. And Victorville didn't have any comic book shops. Had a couple used bookstores that had some comics in it, but couldn't go buy new books, get on a pull list, anything like that. So I had to go down the Cajon Pass into, I can't even remember the name of the city right now, but it was on the 10 freeway. And unfortunate, I don't remember the name of the store or the gentleman who ran it, but I shopped there for a long time. I'd go down every 2 to 3 weeks and pick up books. So he came out to me one day and said, "Oh, look what I bought." and handed me a copy of Captain America #1. So I just stared at the cover. Captain America #1. He said, yeah, go ahead and look through it if you want. So I got to look at a Captain America #1. That was one of the exciting things that happened to me. So while I was stationed at George, one of the things I did is there was a convention at the Disneyland Hotel. Wow, okay, gotta go. So it wasn't very big, but one of the tables was George Perez. He had just really started on New Teen Titans. There was only a few issues in, and he was selling original art for $35 a page. For me, even $35 was a bit much because I wasn't really into original art at that time, so that was difficult. But I went around to different tables, and there was a table there with a gentleman sitting at it. Where is everybody? Nobody was there. It was Jack Kirby. So I got to go talk with Jack Kirby for a while. I had him sign a copy of FF48 for me. History. It was great. Loved meeting Jack. He was really nice, very humble. And so then, I moved on. So then I got, in 1982, I got an assignment to Germany. So packed everything up, went to Germany. At that time, I had 3 long boxes. The Air Force, though, they were very kind to send them. And you say, well, why did you send them? Simple. There were no storage units in 1982. They didn't exist yet. If they did, they weren't anywhere in my area. Second, I went to my mom. Mom, can you keep these comic books for me while I'm gone? If you keep them here, I'm just going to get rid of them, throw them away or something. Okay, I guess they go with me. So I took my 3 long boxes to Germany, not a problem. And I mail ordered from Westfield Comics. The Air Force bases overseas are in an APO, which is basically a New York address. So all my books just got shipped to New York, came to me, and then over the 3 years I was there, I gathered another 3 long boxes. So after my 3 years, time to come home, I packed everything up. And then I had a meeting with the Air Force about what they were going to do. So talked to them and said, I've got all these expensive books. Do I need to get extra insurance? Nope, you're covered. Great, I'm covered. So they came and packed up all my comics, all my stereo equipment, and everything got shipped back to the U.S. So I came back, took a couple weeks off to go visit the family, and then I went and checked in at George Air Force Base above Sacramento. So I checked in, and I got called into my boss's office. Mark, we're really sorry to tell you, but all your stuff was lost in transit back to the U.S. Lost, sure. I didn't believe that. There was comic books and several $1,000s worth of stereo equipment, which I still miss to this day. But you know what you're going to do. So I went and said, okay, here's a claim. Oh, well, we need to know about your stereo equipment. So I told them what I had and how much the value was to replace it. And they said, oh, for electronic equipment, Maximum insured is $2,500. So you get $2,500 for all your electronics equipment, your stereo equipment, which of course was worth several thousand. So I lost out there. And they said, "Oh, we need a list so we can compensate you for your comic books. Give us a list of what you had and how much they're worth." So at that time, I was a lot younger. My memory was much better. So I realized that I remembered all the books I had in my long boxes. So I put together a list before spreadsheets, put together a list, gave him my list. Here, it's $18,000 worth of comic books. Oh, for collectibles, the most we can give you is $3,000. So I got $3,000 for my $18,000 worth of lost books. But what are you going to do? Nothing I could do. I asked, should I get extra insurance? No, you're covered. No, I wasn't covered. So I went back into collected for about a year. But then I just couldn't get my heart back into it. So I went ahead and sold my books. I had a signed, I can't remember, it was by Ron Lim, X Mutants. That's it. I had a signed X Mutants. I had three Teenage Mutant Ninja. I had three Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1s, third print. But if I had those three today, that would still be a big value. So I sold them and I stopped collecting. That was towards the end of 1986. I got out of the Air Force in 1988, moved back to my hometown, got a job in Southern California, moved down to Southern California, and then I don't remember what it was, but something got me back in the hobby of collecting comic books again. That was in 1991. Might have been 90, but I think it was 91. So I got started again, found a comic book shop. But then I found a comic book shop that gave me a discount. And then I found a comic book shop that gave me a bigger discount. So I went to him. He and I are still friends today. So I really enjoyed that. And then he had a little mini convention that was once a month. I went and I sold books there. And I met another friend of mine, Lee, and we've been friends actually before I met my wife. So, wow. So I got back into collecting. I have been selling on eBay since 1999. So I do have sales going on, but this isn't a sales pitch, so I'm not going to tell you where to go look. I also do have my own website, and I just don't update it enough. So I'm not going to tell you what that is either. But my last convention, I went to MegaCon at the end of February 2024, end of January 2024, and I picked up a lot of books. I got 2 signed by Frank Miller. I got several copies of Ghost Machine signed by the different people involved there. I got a David Nakayama book cover, Lilo and Stitch #1, and I got David Nakayama to sign it. That was great. And I also picked up Alan Quah, Wolverine 41, the Fan Expo edition. So that was great. And I got Art Adams to sign an X-Men Annual 14, and it did come back a 9.6. Wish it was a 9.8, but I'm happy with a 9.6. I believe in May I'll be going to Ontario, California for their little mini-con down there, and then in June I'm going to try to get back out to North Carolina to the Heroes Aren't Hard to Find convention, just Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. So after 40 plus years, I'm looking forward to going back. So that's my comic book story. Do not feel sorry for me. Things happen. I'm happy. It's life. And my collection now, which I've been showing some of the video, you can see what I've got. About 350 short boxes. I don't do long boxes anymore. I just can't lift them. So about 350 short boxes, and that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you for joining me at Mark on Comics, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.